2 years into coming out, I didn't, sounds, now I think about it, I just think, how was I living that life? I struggled a lot during lockdown. And then I ended up getting COVID. And I just suddenly thought, oh my God, when I die, all my friends and family are going to say, what a shame she could have lived her life how she wanted. And I just suddenly thought, isn't that my right? To cut a long story short, I had a night where I decided to live or not.
Back then, 20 years ago, what was it like?
There was no one out. No one was out in sport, in my Olympic sports. No one out in athletics at all. I didn't know anyone. When I joined the army, I joined the Women's Royal Army Corps, so it was all females that joined. Well, basically, during that period of time, a girl kissed me, and it felt comfortable. It felt like a bit, oh my God, someone's kissed me, but it felt comfortable.
What does pride mean to you?
Freedom for anybody to be who they want to be.
Virgin Radio.
Do I call you Dame, or shall I go straight in with the Kelly Holmes? I'm not sure.
Depends what the dame is, isn't it?
I've never met a dame. What do I do?
Well, you haven't met a dame on stage. I mean, come on. No, you call me Kelly.
Kelly, thank you so much. Welcome along to Virgin Radio Pride. And it's great to have you here for my Pride playlist. We're doing a week about Olympians and sporting people in the LGBTQ plus world. And you are the perfect guest. So great to meet you. Are you looking forward to this?
I am. Thank you very much for having me.
So this list then, Kelly, tell me about this, because I know you put this together and we've just worked it out in a kind of autobiographical way. Was it difficult to come up with your Pride playlist?
No, I think a lot of the songs that I've picked are very instrumental in my life journey. And they start from very young age right up to the here and now. And they're going to have some highs and lows, put it that way, which I think is life anyway.
Yeah.
And I do think that music and songs kind of really bring that out of people, the empathy or the emotion or the excitement. And I think that's what these songs will bring. And then obviously there's a couple that are just from my youth, that I used to love. But hopefully they depict my journey that people know from when I grew up, being in the army, athletics, and now since coming out. So
there's so much to chat with you. This is going to go on for hours. I can feel it. Okay, what's your first track? What should we start my Pride playlist with?
So my first one is Boney M. Brown Girl in the Ring.
Love it. Tell me about this.
So I grew up in Kent, which I describe in my recent memoir, Unique, being the fact that I grew up in a whiter than white county of Kent with my white mum, my stepdad, who's white since brought me up since I was 7, my white siblings, my white schools and everything. And yet I think there's this thing around race and culture, which people need to get in their heads, is that culture is where you're brought up and what you understand and who has influence. And I only know that side of my life. And when I was in primary school, I was 8 years old, so I show my age now. Boney M. Brown Girl came on, and I was at school. And of course, I got shoved into the middle of the ring. So they're singing Brown Girl in the Ring. And maybe it was because they were being bullying racist. But I'm like, tra-la-la-la, she looks like sugar, plum, plum, plum. I'm loving it. So I have no idea, because I don't think kids don't know about hatred, and they learn it from other people.
We're like sponges when we're born, aren't we?
Yeah, so realistically, kids were just like, oh, she's got brown coloured skin, put her in the middle because it makes the song good. If I look back, then maybe, yes, it was another part of that I could have brought out, but actually I loved it, and I loved the song.
Was that early part of your life, was that difficult? It was Tunbridge Wells, wasn't it, that you...
A village called Hildenborough, which I still live in now.
Yeah.
Just on the outskirts. I went to school in a place called Tonbridge, T-O-N Bridge.
Yes.
And there's Tunbridge, T-U-N Bridge, Wells. So that's where I was born, in Pembury Hospital. It's what my life was. And was it hard? It wasn't hard. I maybe didn't know who I was identity-wise. First 5 years I was in a home, in and out, so I have sort of those childhood trauma things, but that's just because when you're slightly different, which I call unique now, I think it's a better positive word. There's different things that maybe come out later in life than actually when you're young, to be honest.
Let's have another song on your My Pride playlist. What are we going for?
So this one is Shaka Khan, Ain't Nobody.
Love it.
I love this song. I know every single word, the harmonies, the Shaka bits.
It's so classy as
Isn't
well,
it?
isn't it? The whole
Right?
production.
Yeah, I love it. And where is this? This came into my army life. So I joined the army a month before I was 18. And I was posted, my first posting after training, so you do basic training, trade training, was down in a place called 17 Port and Maritime in Southampton. And all the women, girls had one block and all the guys had another block. And this song came out. So it was me and all the girls with hairbrushes singing out to the guys who's sitting outside. Ain't nobody. I was Shaka, of course. And again, the mixed race girl. And then all my backing singers with the hairdressers. And I just never forget it because we had such a laugh. I mean, we were young. I was 18 when I went down to Southampton.
That is very young, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was it a question for you when you were at school? Is that something that you wanted to do? Was that a goal to go into the army and to serve?
Since I was 14.
Wow.
I think, again, I wasn't academic. That was a big reason for it. So I was inspired by what the military could offer, which was a career, a place, roof over your head, meet new people, possibility of travel, and also to become someone. You know what I mean? I wanted to have something that I could prove I could do it. It's always, I think, when I was young, about proving that I could rather than I couldn't. And when I was at school, I was outside of most classrooms. You know, I'm not proud of that, but when you can't academically adhere to the learning methods that they did, which they probably call neurodiversity now, of course, and that was definitely me. Sport brought me alive, and then the army coming into our school to show us what was possible in terms of careers. I just saw, I saw the army, and it was the soldiers screaming and shouting at all these other soldiers getting underneath the scramble net over the 12-foot wall, swinging on ropes. I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. I want to do both. I wanted to be the one getting down dirty and the one shouting and screaming. So that was what I did, and so that was just a big pivotal moment for music, but also a big part of my life.
Did you realise, taking it back and talking about sexuality, so you're in the army when you're aged 18. Yeah. Did you have feelings back then? I hope you don't mind me asking.
No, of course not.
About
pride, after all.
Well, of course. But everyone's got a very personal story.
Yeah.
But did you, at this particular time, did you realise that you were gay or you were different or you had feelings?
Before I joined, no, because I was an athlete from a very young age, from 12, and that was literally my life. You know, I hung out with boys from our village, you know what I mean? Might have had a couple of boyfriends, if that's what you call them, but I didn't know. And also because in school, sex education was very much about heterosexual way of living. That doesn't mean just because you teach it, that's what everybody is, by the way. And so the whole point was that when I joined the army, I joined the Women's Royal Army Corps, so it was all females that joined, and we were all put into, corridors, fought in a room. And, well, basically, during that period of time, a girl kissed me and it felt comfortable. It felt like a bit, oh, my God, someone's kissed me. But it felt comfortable. I didn't really know what gay was. It was just about the fact that I was comfortable with this girl. But there was also a law in the army, which was against the law to be gay.
Because it was illegal,
It was
wasn't
illegal.
It? And you could be punished, couldn't you? Or chucked out.
Both. I mean, you could have been chucked out, so you lose your career. You could be punished by court-martial, jailed. There was a lot of bullying, sexual abuse that happened in the military.
Really?
Yes, horrendous things that now we know a lot of. And it was one of the reasons that caused me to not come out until 2022, 2 years ago.
You must have been so scared and frightened.
Yeah, I think what it wasn't just about the fact that there was a law, because of course everybody knew who he was. You get to know who it is. It's that unspoken language. You don't have to go out there with a sign on your head, let's face it. But I didn't want to lose my career. I loved my career in the army. I loved it. I really did. But I think what it was, I just didn't, so when I was 22, I had a raid, and a raid is basically people coming into your barracks, turning your whole room upside down, your belongings, ripping them apart, looking through all your personal possessions, coming in, vilifying you, spitting in your face, literally trying for you to admit that you're gay. When actually at the time, one, I didn't have my career, two, I wasn't seeing anyone, and three, it's like, it's nothing to do with you. So you have to keep everything sort of in and hope that they don't find out.
Sounds terrifying.
And that caused me a lot of trauma, to be honest. Caused me a huge amount of fright, trauma, risk of losing my career, the thing that gave me my identity at the time, really, as a person. And that carried on in my life. And it was part of the reason why I didn't come out till later in life. But since then, we've had a public apology by the previous Prime Minister for all veterans that were affected by the ban. And you've got to remember that in an era now where, yes, society is changing and a bit more fluid with conversation, there's a lot of people like me that have lived through that trauma in the 80s and 90s who live to this day, who have lived a life of fear, mental health problems, homelessness, lots of things because of that law that was in the military.
Yeah.
So it's for me now to sort of level that playing field and to humanise what this conversation is about. It's about we all want to live our life just being us to be happy, but through circumstances that may have happened, it's been very hard. But I'm pleased to say now, since 2000, when the ban was lifted, the military, still got a place to could go, but the laws are in place that protect anybody from the LGBTQIA plus community to their benefit now.
Thank
it's
goodness.
About inclusion and diversity and that everybody matters.
And the crazy thing is, we're not talking about a time that's 60 years ago.
No.
This is just,
Yeah.
this is like
This is
in
modern
the
day.
2000s,
This is in modern day era, and this is the fact of people have to understand, like, why, we have pride. And I'm a motivational speaker. I go around the world, I stand on the stage and get the chance to talk to people. And somebody did say to me, why do we need pride? And I'm only 2 years into being comfortable talking about myself, because of course it's like, breaking down those barriers and that narrative. And the reason for me, and a real simple reason, there's lots of other reasons, but one simple reason is that the day that somebody who identifies as straight or heterosexual is fearful of going abroad because of being straight or heterosexual, i.e. is against the law, it's banned, you could be jailed or whatever, will be the day we have equality. Because for those in the community, there is a real fear, because there are still countries, around 40, that it is illegal to identify in that way. Yeah. So only when heterosexual and straight people have the same fear, have to look up and see if it's safe to go, will we have equality. And we're not there. So that's why we have pride.
Let's go into your next track on your list. Kelly Holmes with me on My Pride playlist. What are we going for?
I'm going for Technotronic, Pump Up the Jam.
Oh.
It was a real I wish I could sing. I love that
Kid
song.
K.
I just remember being with my mates in the army, and this song came on, and NAFI, which is a Navy, Army, Air Force something institution, I can't remember. It's basically like a pub, and everyone used to go there at the end of the day, and this song used to come on. We used to play pool on the pool table and this song, and also I used to go we used to go on a boat across from Marchwood to Southampton and go to the nightclubs, and this song was on. It's just like, this song just reminds me of my youth.
Love it.
Upbeat and fun.
Do you really interesting question, do you keep in touch with some of the people that you served with? Have you, and what do they think of the person that you've become and what you've achieved?
A couple. I mean, social media is a wonderful way of connecting now, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was a very early part of my life. So you, like any industry and career, you always say you're going to keep in touch, and then, life carries on.
Yeah.
But you bump into people and they go, oh, I served with you, and it's amazing. And actually, it was really funny. So last year I went to this... I get to go to so many places, and I went to this school and opened up their sports hall, and I saw in the distance this guy, and he must be like 6'5". I mean, I'm 5'4", so he was like huge, and I thought, do you know what? I recognise him, but I didn't know where, because I meet so many people. And he came over to me and he went, oh, Kelly, he said, oh my God, you're doing so amazing. He said, you were my PTI, like when this must have been 20, 30 years ago, and he said, you used to beast me. He's like, you were a beast, he said. And I just think to myself, it's so funny, because I'm so short, but I was so strong as a woman, and determined to do my job. Like I said, I loved my job. And so you just have a connection with military personnel. There's a banter that you have that isn't offensive, it's just banter, and it's something, it's almost like another language. So when I do meet people that I've served with, or have been in the military, you connect straight away. And I get that even if I haven't served with them. People that follow me on Instagram, they're like, oh my God, if I put something up like I put up recently about going up the rope arms only and coming down arms only, which a lot of people will not do. And that's not me bigging myself up. They just cannot do it.
Yeah.
I can still do it. And I had all these military guys going, oh, that's a real PTI, that is. Still haven't lost it. I'm like, thank God, I'm that old, I can still do it.
What's next?
So this one is Tina Turner, The Best.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Now, so Olympics. We're now talking about sport and Olympics. Before Athens, which is now 20 years this year.
How is that
How
possible?
is that? Why am I so... Why,
20 years ago.
Where has that gone? Like, seriously. But anyway, we were in holding camp in Cyprus before we went into Athens. And I had just done this amazing training. I'd been injured in my career 7 years out of 12 years. This year, I was not going to get injured. Everything was about not getting injured. And I was in the best shape of my life. And we were in holding camp, basically. And the last session that I was going to do was determine whether I do the 8 or the 1,500 metres or chance doubling up.
Right.
So we're in this car. I've got my training partner, Anthony Whiteman. I've got another lady, Zara Hyde Peters, who is like my performance director, driving me down. And all that was on radio, and I was in the back, all that was on radio was sit-put radio. And Anthony kept turning the dial, and I was so stressed about this one session because it meant, like, it was the biggest decision of my life.
Yeah.
This session. And as I go to him, oh my God, really, I really could listen to Tina Turner, Simply the Best right now. I just need that boost. As I said it, he turned the radio, and no word of a lie, Tina Turner, Simply the Best came on.
No way.
We sat outside the stadium in silence because it was the weirdest thing. Anyway, I went round the track and I got my fastest time ever on this session that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I knew that day I was going to double up.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
And I love Tina Turner. If I'm at a party, I am dressing as Tina Turner. I wish I could sing like her, but I love her. I love everything she stands for, the woman that what she went through, the strength she came out, and that song's iconic. Even though that song is about her love of her life, her husband, everybody plays it as, this real, I'm the best.
Have you ever seen the musical?
I have seen it 6 times. My friend, Alicia Paul Moses, has just stepped down as the lead from Tina. And I also seen the first time it came out, and it had Andriana, who was playing Tina, who Tina had actually put into that position herself. And Tina turned up to that first show.
Oh, my goodness.
Life was made.
Wow. The pressure of that night. It really is. She was such a warrior, wasn't she? In the face of adversity, the whole way. Really had to battle, didn't she?
Do you know what? So many people go through a lot in life, struggles, and a lot of people will relate through their own life that struggle of not having yourself, your identity, your purpose, being controlled by whatever it is, society or person, and then how do you have the courage to become you? And I always think that we all have the right to live our life first. We can live it with other people, but why aren't we waking up every day and living our life? And that's my premise these days.
I've got a question for you regarding the Olympics. We kind of spoke about it a moment ago. Can you even describe the amount of pressure that you must have been under? I mean, like, the nation was gunning for you. The world was looking at you. I mean, what does that even feel like?
The thing is, what happens is you have your own expectations as well, of course. So it's about controlling them, because whilst on the periphery, the external pressures can be really immense, you've got to go into that whole, this is a moment that I can only think about what I need to do. And so you have to almost try to separate what's happening. And luckily, when you get to an Olympic stage, you are quite protected by the Olympic Village, your team, and so actually you don't get that external pressure. Now, of course, the social media now, it's very different, because of course they're all building you up, they're all saying you can do this or whatever, and you can't get too embroiled with it. So there'll be a period of time where the Olympians of Paris will switch off. They won't allow that external direct contact to happen, because you can get so het up with what's happening.
Does that mean you're taken away from social media and the media and coverage, and so you're in your own zone? Is it that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there's some rules now that have been put in place with Team GB in particular, that you have to switch off from social media at a period of time in your competition, and I think that's really healthy and really important.
What was it like, obviously at this stage, being an LGBTQ plus, but certainly within I know you hadn't come out at this time, but this week we're discussing what it's like being sports people in that world. Back then, 20 years ago, what was it like?
There was no one out. No one was out in sport, in my Olympic sports, no one out in athletics at all. I didn't know anyone. I mean, I now know that Navratilova and Billie Jean King from America, tennis players were out, but I didn't know American sports people and didn't know them. So my world, again, was quite isolated. I didn't have any role models, and I still had the hangover of the army, because I'd already started winning medals during my army career. So I had that retire from the army where you can't say anything. At the time, the ban was still in place when I left the army. I then was a world-class multi-medalist in athletics, which again didn't have any role modelling. So again, I couldn't be my true self. That's hard to think of, because actually now, looking at the injuries, the mental health problems I went through, the setbacks I went through, a lot of that was because I was internalising that pain and that feeling of being scared and worried. And of course, that affects your body, your mental, the mental health and your physical health are very much correlate, together and connected. But now I'm pleased to say that, they have a Pride House, I go to Paris and they have a Pride House. I mean, they're welcoming people and they want more people to come out. And across a lot of sports, there's so many sports people and younger sports people in particular that are openly out, living their life authentically. And what that will do will alleviate half of the pressures that they feel about themselves. So they go into their sport being 100% focused on their sport. Mm-hmm. And that's why you're seeing elevated performances and people living their life authentically, because they don't have those worries of hiding and what are people going to say. And I'm telling you, that had an impact on my sporting career. Mm-hmm. I won 13 international medals under a lot of psychological pressure. And would I have won more, or would I have won gold instead of silvers and bronzes? Yes, I absolutely believe that.
Does that make you angry?
It makes me, if I was looking at my own life, upset.
Yeah,
because
I bet it does. I bet I would feel slightly cheated.
Do you know what? You can only contend with what you contend with at that time. So I can't do anything about it. It was the life that I led. And I feel that, obviously I was a talented enough athlete to still do what I did. And I'm happy with my career, winning with 2 gold medals. I mean, how am I going to say that,
Yeah,
and maybe that was fate. Maybe the journey was fate. Because and I've been a motivational speaker for, 16, 17 years in the corporate setting. I have a whole journey that wasn't just, I was successful, I won. Yeah. So for me, fate and life is a journey that we take, and I will take every part of the journey in a positive, because it's created a narrative that if I can talk effectively, hopefully will change people's understanding, or maybe educate a little bit around how people have had to deal with certain situations. And if that's positive, brilliant.
So we've done the Tina Turner thing.
Yes.
Tell me about what's next. I guess the next step was you retiring, wasn't it?
Yeah, so as I described, you go through real highs and lows in life and sport. And when I retired, I kind of lost my identity, because I'd since 14 wanted to be Olympic champion and in the army.
And so you've been on it, and you'd achieved everything, hadn't you?
And I knew my purpose, because that was what gave it. Having dreams gave me purpose, and I retired. And I'd been struggling a lot, of course, about identity, not being myself, what happens next. I'd had sort of on and off relationships in the army. You can't really call them that, because by the time you've moved on to another barracks, they're forgotten. You know what I mean? It's like
they just like friends?
They just become, I've been young. Right? Just being young.
Being young.
And anyway, there was a big period of my life from retiring where I suffered a lot more with my mental health problems. I'd already had a breakdown when I was 33, a year before the Olympic Games, because I was getting to a point with, what if it doesn't happen? Who am I? What I'm going to do? came off of the Olympics, a big euphoria, massive high. How do you beat winning 2 gold medals? Then the drop, which people don't know about in sport, is that you then think, well, what's the next part of your life? But also I was suffering with not just being able to live my life authentically, and sort of I was in the public eye and doing the things that I needed to do, which was, be Kelly Holmes, or then Dame Kelly Holmes, a double Olympic champion, an ex-military. I could be that person.
Yeah.
But to be Kelly and just savvy and just say what I want to say and do whatever I want to do wasn't there. So Pink, Nobody Knows, is my next one. And it's quite a real deep, sad song, because it's saying about nobody knows the moment you're crying and, when it's going dark, how you feel, when the lights have gone down.
Can I ask you how you did feel? Because it must have been, it sounds like such a lonely, solitary space in your mind when everything was going on, when you should have been really enjoying all your successes. It must have been a complete kind of battle in your head.
Everything.
And so difficult to... How did you even go about channeling how you were feeling?
It was so hard, and that carried on right until 2022. So it was a struggle, because whilst I am and had done everything that I thought I wanted, I thought winning gold medal was my destiny. I realised it was just part of the journey. Because, of course, I won at 34, which is an older from a sports person, realistically. But I haven't, hopefully, touch wood, touch my head, a long life to live.
Yeah.
And yet, at that time, I just wasn't happy. I literally, euphoria, yes, so pleased and proud of who I had become and what I'd done, but I wasn't happy as an individual.
Did people around you know that? Did people say
Friends
to you,
and
you're doing
family.
okay?
Friends and family knew about my struggle of not being openly gay, because they all knew. They had got to know over the years, and I'd had partners, but it was all very close knit. Nothing's going to go out, and if people came out with me, they're my friends or my PA. You know what I mean? That was the life I led. It was just internalising that struggle, I think, and then also thinking, what am I going to do next for a career? Because I'm quite career goal orientated.
Yeah.
When you've had 2 big things that are quite institutionalised. I was in the military for nearly 10 years and a world-class athlete for 12. So they're quite institutionalised in terms of they're very structured, very demanding, very focused, and resilience comes through it. Then you're in a world where not everyone cares as much as you do about certain things, and you don't need that team around you anymore. You're left to your own devices, and then you become almost like a product of society because you've got a name and you open this, do that. And I've had a marvellous time and opportunities, but I wasn't really in control of who I was because I didn't know who I was at that stage.
You're such an inspiration, and it's so great to meet you and have you here tonight.
Thank you.
What should we go for next on my Pride playlist?
Okay, this one's a little bit of a sad one. It's Kate Bush, this woman's work, right?
Now, I
It's
said to
tears.
you as soon as I saw this on your list, this can make me cry. It's a 2.5 minute song. I'm even just to think about it, I'm going now. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It really is. And I played this at my mum's funeral. My mum died in 2017. Out of all the things that I've struggled with, and I've struggled with a lot of mental health problems, which I'll come into later, that was the hardest day of my life. And the song was more the wording, everyone wishes they could do something more because you wish they're still around, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a heartfelt, it just makes me cry. I think I've only played it once since the funeral, and that was 2017. My mum had me when she was 17, so a very young mum.
Can I ask, what kind of mum was she?
If I look back and think about it realistically, because again, like most relationships with people, you have highs and lows with your parents, don't you? I think she was stronger than I maybe gave her credit for, because when I was young and she had me young, I was in a care home for a reason that she was only 17, and she was told by her parents, my grandparents, that she couldn't look after me until she could look after herself. So she refused to give up on me with adoption services coming. And then eventually when she met who I call my dad to this day, Mick, she was able to have the ability to then take me out the care home and then, live with her. but we weren't sporty. We were totally chalk and cheese.
Right.
I mean, I'm mad, sporty. I got to keep going, go in the army. She's like, have a break. You know what I mean? So, but at the same time, you know, she's all I've known as a constant in my life. So not having that, you know, I used to speak to her every day when we started having photos or video. If I'm travelling around the world, which she hated flying, every day. And then that goes. And you have no moment with that person again. And one thing I learned was that I was so lucky when I found out she had myeloma, which is cancer of the blood and bone. I asked her what she wanted her funeral to be like. And she didn't say about this song, but I knew she wanted a wicker basket. If I was going to put her in a blacked out wooden thing, she'd come back to haunt me. I was like, no, I don't want you haunting me, thanks. Get to a point in life with your mother, you're like, no,
Don't need that.
I don't need that, thanks. But, you know, I feel that there's a part of me that I feel at peace with, that I did everything that I knew she wanted. And death is a really hard conversation to have. But I would say for anybody that just get to know about that person's wishes, because when they've gone, you wish you knew more.
Okay, I'm just going to wipe away the tears after the Kate Bush song. Honestly, one more question though I've got for you, because I think I was watching your interview on This Morning, and you mentioned about the fact that you lost your mum before you publicly came out. Yeah. How does that make you feel? Because she must have, obviously she would have been very proud at how you handled it and the reaction you got, but
don't ask that quite.
Sorry, but it got me when I read that, when I saw that. Yeah,
she always wanted me to live my life. She used to always say, just be you. She was so sad that I couldn't, but I said, you don't understand why I can't, because she hadn't lived the life that I had, you know what I mean? It was so detached in terms of the institutions, the careers, the feelings, the thoughts, and as gay as she wasn't, you know. But, you know, I'm sad that she doesn't see me now.
What would she think?
Yeah, I mean, she would be proud.
Of course she would. Of course she would.
All right, what about the days?
Okay, let's pick it up. What should we... Honestly, this is so amazing chatting to you about all of this stuff, because it's such... The thing I love about you as well is you've done so much good. Like, you're going around the world telling people your story, but there's so many people who must connect and go, that's me. I'm experiencing that. And you're giving people hope by being honest with your story. So it's strange, isn't it, how everything that's happened to you, has happened for a reason, and you've turned it into a positive, and that's amazing. Yeah. So what should we do next?
So the next one is Keela Seattle, The Great Showman. This Is Me. I mean, that's the one I cry. It's not just a sad one. It's that one, because I remember it was just like really big during lockdown time. I remember it really coming big, and it was during the period that I struggled a lot during lockdown.
I was going to ask you, how bad was that for you?
At first, it was amazing, like everybody's, you know, summer.
The weather was gorgeous.
The weather was brilliant. I started a fitness community. I'm doing core live sessions every morning at 7 outside in the sun. I was loving life. And then I ended up getting COVID quite bad. And I'm laying on my sofa. I struggled like 3 weeks. I was quite bad. And I was watching all the gloom and stuff on telly. And I just suddenly thought, oh my God, you know, when I die, this is, you know, a bit more weird, all my friends and family are going to say, what a shame, she could have lived her life how she wanted. And I just suddenly thought, isn't that my right? Like, isn't that my right to live it, you know? And what that song was, a hope song. It was like, one day I'm going to say this is me, because I needed to find a way. So what happened with lockdown, lots of things happened with lockdown, to be honest. To cut a long story short, I had a night where I decided to live or not. That was the decision.
Really?
Got really bad. And at that stage, at 1:30 in the morning, I emailed a psychologist, and I'd never, ever spoken to psychologists because I always felt that they could out me. I had such a weird sense of what me exposing myself that I had kept being in the public eye out would mean that anyone would go, and of course, you know, professionals are not. They're governed by absolute secrecy unless it's like life threatening to protect you. But at 1:30 in the morning, when I'm holding myself into the like thinking the worst, and I had become over the years a self-harmer. There's lots of things that happened to me during all those years, and that night, I nearly just thought, I'm just going to give up. What's the point? And I struggled very, very hard in that night to keep me in bed because I knew what I would have gone down to do. So the strength came from not getting out of bed in a way, and it's why I have a tattoo called Life, which is a semicolon, and I had it to remind me that I chose life.
Wow.
And at that time, I then had to find a journey to almost, it sounds weird, but to free what I felt like I was in this sort of cage, that freedom to be me. And that's when I decided that if I sort of told a couple of people that were close to me professionally, I could maybe do a documentary. And the documentary came out in June 2022, in Kelly Holmes Being Me, which is still on ITVX if anyone wants to see it. But it was a process to that. And during the time of lockdown and this happening, that song was just like, I just want to stand there and go, this is me. I used to cry. So I'm crying now. Forget that nobody knows. That song was just so empowering of people who just want to shout and say, this is me. Just hear me, see me.
It's just so powerful what you just said about lockdown, your mental health, almost like the mental health kind of crescendo that caught up with you after so many years, bottling everything up. There will be people listening to our chat right now who are struggling, who are thinking, actually, some of that story I'm going through now. You're the perfect person to ask this, Kelly. What advice would you give?
Okay, so there's lots of people living in fear, struggling, and whatever that means to you is as important. And what I would say is that there are so many people out there that will listen and help you. We all have friends that will actually listen and want to share, and hate the fact if you don't, reach out to them, including family members. There's also brilliant charities out there. There's so many charities. You only have to type in mental health support and you'll get a whole raft of charities that will be willing, and it is private that you can help to. And then, of course, there's professionals, and don't think like me that exposes you. They have a duty of care to protect you. So there's all those means to get help. And my biggest advice is get help, because the moment I did, it started to unravel what I needed to do. And I had a couple of psychologists that I ended up going to that transformed my life, because it gave me a chance to alleviate so many things that weren't just the here and now, that might have been childhood trauma or things that I'd suppressed because I couldn't, and it's changed my pathway to becoming me. And I'd always say that, remember, even if you're on a down or a low day, you can still succeed. I went through, as I said, a breakdown, self-harmer at 33, getting ready for World Championships in Paris the year before Athens, and I still won a silver medal at those championships. So don't let those negative feelings define you. Get support to support you. Amazing. Let's get back to your incredible My Pride playlist tonight. What should we do next? I'm going Lady Gaga, Born This Way, because now it's like I want everyone to hear those words, because I'm now 2 years into coming out. I didn't. Sounds, now I think about it, I just think, how was I living that life? Like, I never wore a pride badge. I'd never get involved with anything with diversity inclusion, even as a speaker, like a public speaker or a professional speaker in the workplace.
So you wouldn't have been here a couple of years ago had I, reached out.
No. You wouldn't have
This is just 2 years ago.
Yeah. I had no chance I would have.
Your life has completely changed, isn't it?
Transformed.
For the better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, I'm so happy. But I just didn't realise how big they say about this community. Like, I didn't know about attitude awards, LGBT, diversity. I had no idea. And I've met so many people from the community now at all different levels in society.
Yeah.
Who I'm just like, how did I not know? How did I not know these people? I think I was so shut off from it. Even looking into would have been, in my head, oh my God, that's a threat. Anyway, somebody might have seen that I've Googled something or whatever. It's just like so irrational, but was led my life. And then I look at, hear these words, and having met so many people from the community that identify in any one of the LGBTQIA plus, I realised the need for having those places to go where you feel valid, where you feel other people feel like you, look like you, seem like you. And I think that's so important.
Those safe places.
Safe places, and that psychological safety is a thing where you can just be you. Because there's in lots of parts of people's life, in work life, in home life, in general society, where there's still the inability to just feel free, even though society has changed and it is a lot more liberal, and we can talk about it, and that's why this is happening, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it, now, to be on here?
Amazing. But you have to remember that not everyone still buys into the same thought process. And one of my roles that I love now, I am openly out, is when I stand in front of 2,000 people in an audience from a big corporate community. I will tell them about my life, and I will tell them about the night that I feared for my own life because of what I thought society would think of me, and to say that if something really had happened that night and you found out it's because I couldn't come out as gay, yet you've cheered me on around the track, winning 2 gold medals. I'm a dame. I got my MBE for services to the military. I've won numerous awards, from philanthropy, from writing to sport, and just because of what I think you think of me, I took my life. Is that right? No. Why can't I just have that right to live side by side with everybody else? Yeah. I'm a decent person, I have respect, I work hard, just let me live my life. And that's what I want other people to realise. Nothing harms you if you just let people be who they want to be. And so that song is that real kind of, doesn't matter who you are.
I just want to take you back to when you did come out. It was quite it was like a whirlwind, wasn't it? It was in the paper, then you were on This Morning, then your documentary. Yeah. It was all like, I just thought, wow, like a week of wow. What was the reaction that you got? Was it wholly good? Were there bad bits? How was it?
Certainly to me personally, it was amazing. Of course, there's going to be people that criticise, that say, of course we knew. Do you know what? I don't care. Because when I stood on, I went to Pride, my first ever Pride on London, I stood on there saying that freedom is my voice. Yeah. You assuming or thinking or whatever didn't help me feel good about myself. Me being able to say it and stand there and go, I don't care what you think, gives me that freedom. And that was the power that I've got. It took a year to actually find that narrative and to feel how I feel now, empowered, happy, motivated. Like, I feel like my life's only just beginning, my real life.
Amazing,
I've done a lot of things.
So but it's kind of normalised in your head now, is it?
Yes, yeah. It's just
great.
Yeah, I had no shame over who I was. I just wasn't able to be it because of what I thought society was. And my journey's maybe evolved with society, and that's how I sort of frame it. But I also think, from going back to my mum, is that my mum passed away at 64, I'm 54. 39 plus 15.
But you do look amazing. You did leave a little pause there, and I felt
39 plus 15.
God, you look incredible. You look the happiest also.
Literally. Oh my God, I don't do aging. People say it's a privilege to age. I said, no, it's a privilege to get older and still be it. It's not a privilege to age when you start sagging and you start seeing Stop
it, you look amazing. You're the vision of health in front of me. Health and happiness.
Oh, blimey. But no, so I just thought to myself, and this isn't being that, I'm all doom and gloom. But the reality is as you get older, more people you know of start to get ill, pass away and whatever. And I just think, from a logical point of view, if I only had 10 years left of my life, I'm going to make sure I wake up every single day having the best life that I can ever have. I'm going to live my life, because for 34 years I lived it in fear. I'm never going to do that again.
Brilliant.
So if that's any sort of thing for anybody to go, wake up and say, I matter, and live your life because we deserve to, that's my main words from this part of that conversation.
You are so inspirational. You really are. I mean, it's just amazing hearing that. You've done so much good as well. Should we do another song?
Yes. And this is like kind of just random, really. It's like Fleetwood Mac Dreams.
Love
I
it.
love Stevie Nicks. My partner loves Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks, and it's just a really cool song. I just like it. You can't speak much about my partner because she don't like. She's just like not like me. She's like, I don't know. Why do I need to be in about?
Oh, really? So she's she likes keeping quiet. Does she?
Yeah, she's just not.
Can I ask you how you met? You could say, Steve, shut up, and we'll just play Fleetwood Mac.
Shut
but
up.
Can I ask? Well, you seem really happy. Can I ask anything?
I'm happy because of the first thing is, yes, she's great. But I'm happy because I am in control of my life. I've always said it's not about a person, me coming out, because that person never lived through the trauma that I feel I had. But I think it's important now that I found somebody who just lets me be me. Yeah, it's a journey for them because this isn't their life being in the public eye and they're not interested in it whatsoever. I'm going off up here and they're like, oh, Jesus Christ, because when I met them, I wasn't doing this whole, whatever. So it's a big transformation, but I just being realistic with the life. At the moment, I'm happy with that person and let's see what happens down the line.
So you met them before you came out?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, incredible. Well, you look really happy, and it's great to see. Your face lit up as soon as I asked.
Oh,
is this your song then, this Fleetwood Mac song?
No, it's a song we both like.
Kelly's like, play the song.
I don't do
Stop
the mushy thing.
questions.
I'm not into mushy.
Listen, it's been a fantastic My Pride playlist. How many more songs have we got? One more song.
I was after 10, you got 10.
Okay. Big moment. I think you're going to ask me to dance as well, aren't you? I don't know.
Do you know what? It's partly from back in my youth, but this song, I love it at parties. I take over the dance floor.
Yeah.
Cameo, Candy. You're going to have to do this with me.
So I got involved at Black Pride last year when they played this, and apparently it happens every year. And I was
They
right
call
in
it
the middle
different
of
electric slide or another name. They do it now, but it's still the old Candy Cameo to me.
There is a dance routine to this, isn't there? Look as I move
Are you
my
ready?
hands.
It's not like that, but yeah.
I don't know what that was. Go on, Kelly.
As you do the caterpillar or whatever it is. Are you going to do it with me?
Go on.
We're going to do the song. Da, 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 da. Right, are we going to get up then?
Well, I'll take your lead.
Well, I'm going to have to...
Can I do it in my chair? I'm so lazy.
No, you can't.
So if I'm saying it to an Olympian, can I do it in my chair?
Right, just stand up a minute,
All
right?
then.
Okay, so you go like this. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, then back, 1, 2, then you step forward, and then the right leg, up and a hop, and then you start it again. And then...
This is the most horrendous dad dancing you'll have ever seen.
You go the wrong way.
I'm just looking at Kelly Holmes.
That is my song. So if you're out with me, I'm like a party. You're getting up on that dance floor. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. You're on that dance floor with me.
You are amazing. You're the only person in 4 years that's got me out of the chair to do anything. So congratulations to that. I've got two final questions for you. Here we are, 2024. We're coming to the end of our Pride season. What does Pride mean to you?
I think it means freedom for anybody to be who they want to be, to live their life how they want to live, for people to understand that they're valid, they're worthy, and actually, do you know what? Just want to be happy.
Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you. It's lovely to meet you.
You too.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you. Dame Kelly Holmes. Thank you.
Virgin Radio.